Hi, it's Laurie here, and I've been asked by several people on Zoom meetings that I've had here over Christmas and the New Year to provide a little bit more background on the surface mount LEDs that I use in making my animation, lighting, etc. So I thought I'd just put a presentation, like a mini sort of clinic together for those of you who are interested in this. First, I've made myself a little wooden bench here. Just it stops. It's got a little bit of aluminium angle on it there to stop it going anywhere, and it's just got a cheap clamp there with soft jaws. Just screwed that on, and I do all sorts of work on there, but I'll show you how important that is when I'm doing my LEDs. You also need decent solder. Never use a wet sponge. Always use the curly brass or bronze. It's treated, and it will keep your iron tip. When you put the iron tip into it, just clean it and keep your iron tip clean. Just look at the size of my iron tip there now, and you get a bit of an idea of what I'm using. Nice fine point, and that does all sorts of work. The track work, it'll solder wires, certainly do the surface mount LEDs, and a lot of other things on it there. Now that's important. The other part there, it goes back into my soldering station. Now I've got that set at 295. That's going to be too high for doing surface mount LEDs, so we'll drop that down. 260, that'll do. So 260 degrees centigrade. Okay, it's got a centigrade or Fahrenheit here. I just work in centigrade, so that's there. I've got another cleaner up there. That's important. Don't use wet sponges on your soldering iron. It'll kill your tip, and won't give you as good a solder joint. Other parts I've got here, you need a really good pair of pliers to cut the wire that you're going to solder these surface mount LEDs onto. This is the wire that I use. There's black and red in there. I buy 10 meters of each when I get it. It's Turnigy 36 gauge. I get it from Hobby King. The last lot I got from Hobby King in Seattle. So I got 10 meters of each. So excuse me. That's essential. That's super flexible wire, and believe it or not, that's got 7 strands in it, and it's, you know, a silicon outside, and it's easy to strip and very flexible. You're going to need pliers, tweezers, and these tweezers here I've modified. I've actually stretched them. I won't do it anymore because they're perfectly set. I've stretched them so they've got a very gentle bite, just enough that I can grab a surface mount LED with. And if you notice, I've modified the tips. I've made it filed either side and put a chisel on them there, so each one has got a chisel point, and it's nice and clean and smooth, and I can just grab half a LED with that. That means I've got half a LED. I can tin one solder pad and put the wire on it, and then when I've got that out, I put it in the clamp here, and with the wire, I'll show you that in a moment. You need another pair of tweezers, and keep, you know, dedicated tweezers for the job that you've got there. You're going to need liquid flux. I use Cars liquid flux. I use Tamiya clear glue for mixing with Tamiya X26 orange. It's a clear paint, and I mix the two of these together, and they tint my LEDs. The other part is that on the surface mount LED, once you've soldered the wires on, you need to insulate those. Oftentimes the glue, once you put that all the way around the LED, will insulate the solder pads, and it shrinks, so you don't get that big blob of it. It actually shrinks down, and and fits nicely around your lead, so you don't have a great blob of lead. LED. Other thing that I've got here at the back, I've got my warm whites. So these are where I'm carrying my surface mount LEDs in here. These are the general day-to-day ones that I use. I've got a small amount in them there, and you can see underneath a LED they've got a little green T, so you've got a positive and a negative. That's not always the case. I've struck some that were wrong, but normally the little leg coming off the T is the negative. So you've got anode and cathode. So the positive is the without the T on it there. The bit with the T break is the cathode. They're warm whites. I've got I keep a roll of them here of 0603s LEDs ready to go. Resistors, I use surface mount resistors, so there's some 2K resistors. I use 1.6K, all over the place. So I've got different resistors. I don't go above 1K, much above 2K, sorry. 2K is about as much as I want. I've got 0402 white surface mount LEDs. There's most probably a couple of hundred in there. Little tiny things. You fit about 5 on a match head, on a pin head. 0401s, you can see those. Here's the 0401s. I'm not sure whether that's going to come through on the camera or not. They're tiny. So they're tiny. Again, this is why having the pliers, the tweezers to be able to grasp them, and that's the sort of stuff that you're going to need. You're going to need to get some of this. I buy in bulk and that sort of thing. That saves me money, so it works out about 3 cents per lead, and the wire, and that shipping to Australia was the biggest cost of all of this. But anyhow, so that's what you need for doing surface mount LEDs, along with your soldering station. So we'll make a start. To show you what we're dealing with here, the one on the right is an 0402 surface mount LED, white one. So that's the baby, and the big guy is the 0603. So you get about four of those will be the same size as the 0603. If I turn this around work with the camera in front of me, and it's on zoom. Just flip that over, if it will behave. Yeah, come on. And turn it this way. You can now see the T, the anode and the cathode, the green T. So you've got a positive and a negative. I always put my resistors on the negative side. And while we're talking about resistors, I'll just pull the resistor out. These are 0603 resistors. They're a 2K, and you can actually solder from pad to pad onto one of the LEDs if you wanted to, but that takes up space. So I just leave the LEDs the way they are and just put the wires on them. So easy state, we'll work with the 0603 first. The other thing that I use is a lead tester. You can make your own. That's got a 9-volt battery inside this one, and I've put a couple of test leads off it there for when I want to test lighting in the structures that I've got. But you can pick up the lead, and I've soldered 2 wires onto the 5 milliamp part here, and you can always check your lead as to which way it's going. So I know that this side over here is the negative, and against the positive, so that when I'm soldering I put the red or the black wire onto the surface mount LED. So they're handy to have. You can find those LED testers. I think you can get those at most online places. Okay, so I'm just using the normal tweezers because I've done a fair bit of this, and the first thing we're going to do is just run across the back with the liquid flux. Got my soldering iron. I'll just get that solder on it. Come on. I'm just cleaning that tip too much there, so just get a little bit on. And first thing we're doing, there we go, we just tinned that. Yeah, you got to be quick. So that one side is tinned. Now I've got the Turnigy wire. I'm just coming to the end. Maybe a little bit more. And you can, there's hardly anything there to show, but we don't need to use more flux. Got the camera right next to my hand here. So we tin that. And of course that wire is going to be flared out at the end. We don't want it sitting across the back of the solder pad. My old shaking hands. We just trim that. There we go. Now, grab the lead that we had. And this is where the clamp comes in handy. There's the clamp there. And all I've got to do is just, because I've tinned both, I've just got to put the two of them together. And there you go. So we've now soldered on. So we've just got to put the red on that side and we'll get it to work. So I'll do that there now. So while that's in there, just make sure that's nice and clean. The flux, we get a bit of red, we strip the red, we tin the red, now it doesn't matter which way you want to put these wires on. I put them on this way when I'm putting them into the Grant Line lamp reflectors. There we go, that's on. Now I'll take that out. We'll strip the two ends. Well, I'll just take this back a bit. Come back here a bit, you can see what I'm doing. I'll just trim those ends a little bit to make sure that we've got it right. One. Come off. I like this silicone wire, it's good stuff. Okay, we get our lead tester, red for positive, onto the red wire. Black for negative onto the, hey, whoop, come here. There we go. So you now see we've got the lead working. Alright, so we finish off really what we're doing. I'll show you another trick here. You would think you'd be shorting stuff out and that. I'll get this lead. Get these two wires together. And we'll just get some glue here. Just get those. There we go. We'll get some glue here. Now I'm talking about insulating. Right, you see the glue coming out there now? We just push it straight into the glue. Nothing's happening but the glue running out the top. But there's the glue there now. But I've got some on my finger. So let's put that onto something else. Just put that onto the base here of another bit of wood I've got. And we'll just put you over there. And we'll open up the Tamiya clear orange paint. And we get a toothpick. And we put one drop in there. And we mix it. See how it's mixing together real easy? Now what that's going to do, if I put that on that lead there now, I'll put the lid on this so I don't spill it. I coat this lead now. Ah, here we go. We've got a warm white. So all of a sudden you can do any colour that you want. You do green lights, whatever. I don't buy coloured leads. I just buy the white, and then I tint them with the Tamiya paints, and that turns out great. Other advantage of that is the solder pads that I just soldered the wires onto are just being pushed into the glue and with the paint, and they're now going to be insulated. I leave that till tomorrow because I'm working at night here. It's about 8 o'clock at night here at the moment, out in my train shed. So that's all you need on it there. That's beautiful. Nice beautiful little lead there. And if you mix up the amount that you want, you can always put more on. So if you put too much on, it's hard to take off. But you can always go back on there when that's dry and put another lot on and make that even deeper if you wanted to. So there's how I do my leads. The other trick with that is I will bend those wires either way, and when I'm using, I'll just get one of these out. I'm using the Grant Line clear lamp reflectors. They go in there, so I drill up the hole in there for the two wires to fit. But to do that, to get the lead to be centre in the lamp reflector, I bend each of the left and the right. So as I did, one came in from the left and one came in from the right on the surface mount lead. I bend those wires up 90 degrees at the back of the lead and then feed them through there, and I get a perfect globe in the middle of these Grant Line reflectors. Doesn't matter what scale you're working in, there's their HO, do A scale and the rest, so that'll work in really well with lamp reflectors. So that's what we're up to on that part there. So making these is not that hard.